Well, good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. Good morning. Samuel here on the 18th of August, Sunday the 18th, continuing the dialogue and the sharing and discussion and questions, clarification relating to bridging the beliefs with spirituality. As you can see, today being the 18th of August, I am here and I'm not in Corrick House. So we had to take some, how should I put it, being adaptable and understanding in alignment with that which is, and accepting that which is. And as much as I desired and others who couldn't be there, who wanted to be there, it was felt best to postpone it until a later date. And my heartfelt thoughts go out to those who are experiencing some illness and some situations literally beyond their control, where if it were possible they would be here. Other family situations literally out of their personal and individual control. And then of course there were some who had to work, which was also not within their control. But you know, this word control has been quite a bit on my mind over the last couple of days. And perhaps maybe this is really what's happening, that humans, not perhaps it is, that humans are being forced into this thing called flexible planning, whereby we go with the flow, quite literally, and allow the process to unfold. Yes, we can have flexible plans, but this idea of rigid plans is over. When it is in alignment with the truth of who we actually are, we are then in allowingness with respect to what is occurring. Now, I want to clarify a couple of things in that in a few moments, but we're not going to do it right now. So just as far as Corrick House, our Create Your Vision Board with a Difference workshop is concerned, we will be having that again in the foreseeable future, near future. When I know the date, everyone will be notified. However, for those who are ready and interested to discover their life purpose and wish to proceed forthwith with that Discover Your Life Purpose exercise, please email me or message me and let me know, and we will do our best to make that happen ASAP at a mutually convenient time and place. So that's for those of you who wish to proceed with Discover Your Life Purpose exercise. We will do what we possibly can to make that happen ASAP. Next announcement, of course, the next emotional and mental well-being support group get-together is scheduled for the 29th of September. That's Sunday the 29th in Lamont House Hotel in the Greater Belfast area. So that's in the Greater Belfast area. And those of you from the Greater Belfast area who have asked for that, I honour you and I respect you and I love you dearly. And for those of you who are listening to this that I have yet to meet from the Greater Belfast area who are interested in attending, please let us know ASAP. Also, I will be making that public very, very soon and putting it up on Eventbrite. Now, for the hotel and for ourselves to make that happen, we require a minimum of 15 people in attendance, preferably 20 plus. So that's a clarion call to those of you from the Greater Belfast area and wherever else to ensure that for this to go ahead, there must be a minimum of 15 people there, preferably 20 plus. Thank you very much for your cooperation and understanding on that matter. Right, okay. Yes, the purpose of these Sunday recordings, and why on a Sunday? Well, purely and simply that most people actually are available within the Western world, or indeed within Northern Ireland, UK, Ireland, on a Sunday, or indeed within the Christian community worldwide, they are more or less available. In other words, they're not necessarily doing anything unless they're attending that place called a place of worship. We're not going to get into that too much today, or maybe we will. We'll go with the flow on that one too. Yeah. Okay. So, but the purpose of this discussion, bridging beliefs with spirituality, is first and foremost, let me make it very, very clear, with complete and utter respect. That is the bottom line. I'm sharing this information because it's so much of it has been relative to questions that I asked, other people are asking, and I was asking from a kid, other people have been asking from when they were a kid, is bridging the beliefs with spirituality. Does that mean discarding the beliefs? No. What it means is deciphering which beliefs are in alignment with the truth that Christ brought to the planet, and alignment with the truth that you inertly feel or innately feel within oneself being real. In other words, there are certain beliefs that are true and real, absolutely. So to take those beliefs with us into the silence and have our lives be lived by those, as opposed to false, inhibiting, destructive, quite frankly, destructive beliefs which have been handed down as doctrine or indoctrination for a couple of thousand of years. So be able to transcend those and actually be in alignment with the reality and the truth of who we actually are and the truths that Christ brought to the planet. Because so much of the beliefs and indoctrination within and I say this within religions in general, and specifically within the Christian tradition, are not in alignment with what Christ said. They're in alignment with what other people have said. They are in alignment with what other people have wanted people to believe. They're not in alignment with what Christ actually talked about. So I'm going to share a number of those things today. And I would say, before I get into these things that I'm going to share today may be very hard hitting. Let me put it like this. What is better? To begin to question and ask the questions for oneself and find the answers for oneself prior to you finding out from somebody else, when in actual fact it may be too late. What is best? So what I am endeavoring to do here is to pose some questions, or indeed share questions that have been asked of me, to ensure that these questions are being asked and answered. Ask yourself these questions and answer yourself these questions. Go within to the silence and the stillness of the truth and the intuition that is within yourself. So that's the major reason why we're doing these. Okay, so we're going to get into those in a few minutes. And of course, any of you who are interested in having one-to-one consultations, please email me info@samueljennings.life or message me on Facebook Messenger. I'm always delighted and willing and ready to assist those who are ready to assist themselves. And I salute those of you who are doing so and making terrific and tremendous progress, because you're applying the tools. Okay, other thing I just want to say is I'm also open to being available for facilitation, other groups, wherever in the country, whether it be in Ireland or indeed within the UK or wherever else, of course, where it's practically possible. Okay, so before we proceed, let's do our Relax I Am Within mantra. And for those of you who are aware, please forgive me, but for those who aren't, Relax I Am mantra. Relax I Am Within is relaxing the mind, stilling of the mind, coming down into the stillness of the inner sanctuary, the I Am that is within. And that's the truth of who we actually are. It's in here, it's not here. This is the false ID entity. So we're going to balance the left and the right brain. the male and female aspect of ourselves, balance the head with the heart, the mind with the soul, and of course, the ego with the I am that is within. In other words, the false identity with the truth identity, and then the whole lot becoming one, the falseness being removed. So we're going to do this now together. And of course, I would highly, highly, highly recommend write it on your sticky post-it notes and post them up all over your home and your office and in the center or steering wheel of your car to ensure that you're keeping that sense of relaxed inner knowingness at all times. Okay, so here we go. Relax, 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 relax. I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. Within, 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 within. Okay. So the relaxed I am within literally brings us out of here and into here. Okay. And the objective of that exercise is to retrain ourselves to live in that state of inner conscious awareness where the brain is in the alpha frequency, which is the child state of consciousness, which is exactly why the individual called Jesus 2,000 years ago said, allow the little children to come to me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. When we are in the alpha frequency state, we're in the child state of consciousness, which is a perfect balance between the heart and soul. Heart, soul, mind, and body, all in one, like the I am diagram. Now, all right, questions today are pretty direct. But before we get into these, I just want to very quickly just touch on circumstances. You know, we can choose to be either a creature of circumstance or a creator of circumstance. We can choose to be dictated to by our own ego, our altered ego. We can choose to be dictated to by someone else's altered ego. We can choose to be a puppet on somebody else's string, or we can be responsible to our own intuition, our own guidance from within ourselves, our inner guidance called intuition. I want to clarify a couple of things. Circumstances beyond our control, of course, depends on who and what is in control. And I've just touched on that. Circumstances or happenstances, we can respond and change if possible or not. And of course, if we decide with the head, we're deciding with the head. If we're choosing with the heart, we're choosing with the heart of hearts, the I am that is within. So here's the bottom line. Where are we? Where is our predominant state of being? Are we being? Or are we not being? In other words, are we in doing mode? Are we in having mode? Are we in external mode? Or are we in internal mode? Now, the objective, of course, is having the internal direct the external. In other words, the soul, heart, mind, and body being directed from the I am presence, where everything then, effectively, we become creators of circumstance. And we're no longer puppets to this or somebody else's this. Okay. And of course, flexible planning. Flexible planning is exactly what is now happening. That humans are being forced out of being in control. Forced out of, because the human wants to, the human mind, or the human doing lower mindset is focused on that which it wants to do, that which it wants to have, as opposed to the inner self or the intuition, which is in alignment with the Creator. And we are co-creators. So when we are being here, being within, our lives are directed by being. In other words, we are a human being, not a human doing. When we're up here, we're a human doing and a human having. In other words, that we're doing things to have more. And why is that? It's because we were separated from the provision of all things, which is being. And being is present in the present tense right here, right now. Doing is relative to doing things with respect, are largely out of fear, not having enough. Yeah. Not having enough confidence, not having enough self-worth, not having enough of this or that or whatever. But when we're being, we're whole and complete. And we're in the truth that sets us free from all these beliefs about what we think we are and what we think we are not. Okay. Now, hard-hitting questions. All right, let's go. Fasten your seatbelts, folks, because some of these are going to be real straight. Straighter than before. Last week we talked about this thing called prayer. And we talked about the shaman, was it either last week or the previous week? And the shaman actually, there was a story from Greg Britton, true story, I understand. The shaman went up the mountain and stood in a stone circle for a few minutes. Didn't seem to do anything. Just stood there in silence and walked down again. But what he was actually doing was in a state of total connectedness, beingness at one with the Creator, a co-creator with the Creator and the universal consciousness, the Great Spirit. And what that individual, that shaman actually did was visualized the rain happening. He went up to, inverted commas, pray for rain. So it was visualization with gratitude for that which he was about to receive, or the community were about to receive. For that which we were about to receive, may the Lord, Creator, Source, make us truly grateful. So the gratitude was expressed. The visualization took place with gratitude. And so it was. That's prayer. That is prayer, folks. We talked last week about the Lord's Prayer. Should we say it shouldn't be a prayer? Should we say it was the Lord's visualization? That the real meaning of prayer is visualization with gratitude, and gratitude with visualization? Because it would seem that what the perception of prayer, or the word prayer actually is begging. Now, why would anyone want to beg if they realize that they're at one with the Creator? That the I am within, the I am that is within, is of the same consciousness of the I am that I am, of which God's name actually is. So, when the gentleman 2,000 years ago actually said, seek first the kingdom and its righteousness, all these things will be added unto you. That was prayer, inverted commas. Seeking first the kingdom of heaven is within, the I am inner conscious awareness. That's it. Seeking first this, and that which pertains to this, that which pertains to the soul and the heart, and everything that is required for the well-being of mind and body will be added unto us. That's prayer, folks. Seeking first. In other words, when do we seek? We're always in the place. The objective is not to go here just for 20 minutes in the morning, every morning, or if you don't mind me saying, as I said last week, an hour a week, and then close the door on the God, close the door on the Father in heaven, the house of God. You go once a week, or go once a week, whether it be on a Saturday evening or a Sunday morning, spend an hour there and then leave, and close the door on the Father in heaven, the house of God, close the door on the God that people actually love. So they go along there to pray to the God for a week, for an hour, and they close the door on it. I mean, if people really, really, really loved someone, would they visit it once a week, leave it in the cold, leave it in the dark, leave them in the cold and leave them in the dark, and say that they really love them? I mean, come on, folks. Let's get real here. When we return to the truth that is within ourselves, the I am within being, the divinity of who we really are, we are there all the time. All the time. So the true meaning of worship is not an hour a week. The true meaning of worship is it's our natural sense of being at all times. So being in gratitude, being connected 24/7, all the time. Now, isn't creation like that? Isn't all of creation? You heard me talk about the blackbird story. You see, everything in creation has never disconnected from the truth of its being. It's I am inner awareness. It's divinity. It's never left it. The only part of creation that left their divinity were humans. So they left their inner conscious awareness of being a spiritual being here on planet Earth, having a human experience, and became human doings, human thinkings, and human havings, human wannabes, human wasings, totally disconnected from the truth of who they really are. Now, I was there one time too. Totally and utterly pursuing the external. So what actually happens, as soon as we arrive on this planet, the programming, the indoctrination actually starts. And the truth of who we actually are in here, the soul, the heart, and the I am presence within, all gets covered up. Now, at this stage, you're probably beginning to understand why that is, those of you who are watching this. It's called control. So that we can be puppets in somebody else's string. Anyway, so when he said, enter into the closet and close the door, what did he mean by that? Where was the closet? The closet just wasn't the little space that we have provided. But that's a very good idea, with a do not disturb sign on the door. But the real closet was the inner sanctuary. And what he was actually getting at, closing the door, was closing the door of the thoughts, doing what we possibly can to relax. I am within. Doing what we possibly can to be still the mind, and know that I am. That's what he meant. When you pray, enter into the closet, enter into your closet, close the door. And he went on to say then, pray to your Father. Who is that? What's the Father's name? The Father's name is I am that I am. Where does it dwell? It dwells within. What's its name in there? It's the same name. Pray to your Father which is in secret. I am in here, in the inner sanctum, the inner sanctuary. That's where prayer is. So meditation, stilling the mind, going within and staying there. So you've heard me say, those of you who know me, you hear me talk about 24/7 connected, directed, and protected. Yeah. And when we look at the words of the inverted commas, the English translation of the Lord's Prayer, and especially the original Aramaic, that's exactly what it is. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, connected, directed, and protected. That's what it is. So, don't take my word for it. You can go and look at the words yourself. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is always staying connected, staying directed, and have the protection. That's it. Check it out. Don't take my word for it. All right, here's another one. Why is it generally felt, not only in the Christian tradition, but other traditions as well? And by the way, just on that point, what's tradition? Isn't tradition something that's handed down from generation to generation to generation to generation until it becomes a thing called a belief? Is that possible? Is that what's being going on? So, why is it in the Christian tradition and other traditions that we're supposed to kneel to pray? Or at least this is what we're told. When the I am that is in you and I is the same I am that created the entire universe, we are in a constant state of reverence, a constant state of gratitude, a constant state of respect. Self-respect with respect for the Creator. At one, the same as all the rest of creation. So is there any need to kneel when we're in a constant state of respect and reverence? Now, that doesn't mean to say we're walking around with our heads down. No, not at all. Are the birds doing that? Constant state of reverence, a constant state of connectedness, a constant state of respect, a constant state of gratitude is a constant state. It's our natural state. It's our innate sense of knowingness. All right, clarification from last week. Who and what is God? Now, you ready? God is love. What is God? God is light. What do I mean by light? Now, we talked about that which is visible light. That which is visible light is only 0.0038 of the electromagnetic spectrum. So who God is love, pure love, I amness. What God is electromagnetic spectrum. That's what it is. Because for those of you who are aware of the inverted commas Judeo-Christian Bible, that is about 50 years old at this stage. That's the only book that thankfully, I was brought up not with a catechism, not with rules and regulations, not with anything apart from what's in that. But I went one step further. And with respect, I say I. Because at age 14, as you know, I actually asked for, could someone please tell me how to be still this thing here and know who I actually am? And 21 years later, I found the answers through meditation. But I'm eternally grateful to my grandparents and my parents for having stepped away from the organized religion concept. Church is a building. We call a priest father, or we call a reverend gentleman or a lady reverend. When Jesus specifically said, never call anybody your father or a rabbi or a master. No, because you are. We all are. The divinity that is within us all is the divinity that is within us all. But the only person that actually decides to remove themselves from that divinity is oneself, by accepting beliefs that have been poured in through the top of the head, which cause people to leave the truth of who they actually are, the knowledge of who they are, what they are, and why they're here, and be what somebody else, or do what somebody else wants them to believe and do and have. Okay. So if God is love, And what it is electromagnetic spectrum. What are you and I? The I am that is within is the same nature of the Creator, which is love. And what are we? Is electromagnetic beings. In case you haven't realized, of course, we all know this. Touch a car at times and you get a shock. Now, does the car shock you, or are you earthing? Because we all are electromagnetic. You know the thing called the aura, the auric field? We're electromagnetic beings. Animals and young children see the electromagnetic spectrum, the aura. They don't see the physical body necessarily. What they actually see is the vibrational frequency. And depending whether we're in fear or depending whether we're coming from here, which is love, the child will either run from us or gravitate to us. The animal will either run from us or gravitate to us. Why is that? Because of either low vibration, it'll run away and hide, don't go there, or loving energy emanating from the core, the I am that is within, through the soul and the heart and the mind and the body, then are the expression of the electromagnetic spectrum. There, the chakras. So if the chakras are blocked by fear, it's low frequency. So what is now happening is that humans are being pushed out of here, which is all low frequency, which the toxic emotional and mental stuff that block the chakras. All these emotional and mental and physical symptoms that people are having are that their chakras are being realigned. Well, first of all, before they can be realigned, they have to be cleared and cleansed and detoxed and then realigned. So that when the heart chakra begins to operate properly, the three above it and the three below it begin to operate in perfect harmony. And we remember then, or our physical bodies return to the original state. And that original state was a spiritual being here on planet Earth having a human experience. In other words, we're light beings. Okay. Now, I got some more questions to get through here, quite a lot actually. Yeah. All right, we'll deal with this one first. What did Jesus mean when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life? Now, I'm going to ask that again. What did he mean when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life? Now, before I give my feeling of what he meant, I'm going to ask you this question. Was he referring to the man Jesus, or was he referring to his and its nature, the Christ? Okay. Could it be that the I am that he's referring to when he said, I am the way, is the I am within you and I and within us all, the Christ? Because the I am is the Christ. Jesus Christ, yes. But Jesus was the man that the Christ was absolute the embodiment. In other words, the entire being was an expression of the Christ consciousness. So, I am the way. I am within is the way home to the truth of who we actually are. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. The heart of hearts, which is the I am. So I am is the way, which means the journey home to the truth of who we are. I am the truth. So we said, I am the way, the truth. What do you mean by that? I am the truth. I am is the truth that sets us free from all limiting, destructive, and inhibiting beliefs that have been handed down for umpteen generations, thousands of years. Debilitating, disempowering, destructive beliefs which have caused emotional and mental and physical toxicities called dis-ease. So when we return to the truth of who we actually are, we start kicking out all this emotional and mental and physical stuff that has caused us to be a mere shadow of our former selves. A mere shadow. That is a shadow of the true self. That is a shadow of the former self. That is a shadow of the Christ consciousness of us all. There, where the body and the mind is the perceived reality of the human. That is not a human being, that is a human doing, and that is a human having. A human wannabe, a human wasing. It is not the truth of who we actually are. Okay. That is. So all this stuff has been kicked out. Emotional, mental, and physical toxicity has been removed so that we can return to the truth of who we actually are. And then we begin to heal ourselves, as I say on my card, healthy self, heal thyself. From the outside in, nope, can help. But we will never, ever, 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 ever heal ourselves until we heal from the inside out. You know, that's like trying to say to a tree, you've got a problem on the outside. It has to heal from the inside. It's simple. It makes so much, it's actually common sense when you actually think about it. Healing from the inside out. Outside in is a good, yeah, it helps. Alternative therapies, etc., etc., etc. They all help. But it's only external. You know, let me ask you a question. If there's an outer effect is the problem, does it make any sense to take other outer effects, external influences to change the behavior of an external problem, whether it be in an emotional or a mental or a physical condition? Does it make any sense to treat something externally when the underlying issue internally is the problem? Now, I'm not going to answer that because you know the answer to that yourself. Treat the inside and the outside takes care of itself. What did he mean by I am the life? Life has no beginning. Life has no ending. Have you ever heard of the circle of life? I feel like a song coming on. But the circle of life is a circle. Eternal life is eternal. I am the life. What he was referring to is I am eternal life. I am in you and I is eternal life. No beginning, no ending, eternal. Now, can the human mind and its altered ego state get its head around that? No, not possible. Impossible for the human mind to get their head around that. The truth of who we actually are is eternal. And our expression of our eternal selves on planet Earth is that we are spiritual beings before we come here. We're spiritual beings when we leave here or go back to being spiritual beings. Well, what the heck should we be here right now? Huh? Human doings and human havings? Spiritual beings here on planet Earth having a human experience. Spiritual beings here on planet Earth having a human experience. I am the way, the truth, and the life. You are the way, the truth, and the life. You could also say, then he said many other things relating to the I am. I am the light of the world. I am the good shepherd. I am the door. I am the resurrection. There's one for you to think about, and we'll talk about that one next week. I am the life. I've just covered it. There's many other things he said that I am is. But what he was talking about actually is, he actually said it real clear. You know, he said, I am the light of the world. But he even made it clearer when he actually said, you are the light of the world. You are like the city that's set on the hill that cannot be hid. You are. Do you think he was joking? So along come the beliefs, the belief merchants, the indoctrination merchants. And they turned it upside down. They basically said, created beliefs which took us out of the truth of who we actually are and filled the head full of sweetie mice. Wouldn't be so bad if they were just sweetie mice, but they're very destructive, inhibiting beliefs about ourselves and the world. Very destructive. Here's the good news. It's over. Now, I'm going to talk about that now, or in a minute or two, about what I mean by it's over. And we need to take a firm look in the mirror and realize what's going on and what do I mean by it's over. I'll get into that in a few minutes. All right, another question. At age 12, Jesus actually said to his parents and to his kin and kindred, there was an occasion when he was 12 years of age. He was in dialogue with the religious hierarchy of the Jewish tradition in the temple in Jerusalem. Apparently so. So the story goes. And they were astounded at his wisdom. They were astounded at his awareness of the content of the discussion. That's not what I really want to talk about today. But anyway. So the parents actually missed him. Mary and Joseph and the kindred, they went up to pay their taxes, actually. Fair enough. So your boy was actually still stuck behind. And a day or so later, Mary actually notices, where's the cub? Not here. So the trip's back, they walk back again, and 3 days they found him. Can you imagine being a parent? And you lose this 12-year-old. Goodness knows, imagine that nowadays. You lose this 12-year-old, and eventually you find him. And there he is, full of life, full of the joys of spring, or whatever time of the... He was in dialogue with the scribes and the Pharisees, the religious hierarchy. And he said to his mother, mother said to him, we were worried about you. We've been searching all over the place for you for the last 3 days. What's the story? You know what he said? Check it out for yourself. It is in Luke, the Gospel Luke, chapter 2, verse 49. Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business? Now, wist ye not is Old English for do you not realize? So do you not realize I'm here on my Father's business? Who is he talking about? He was talking about the I am that I am's business. And what was the business? The business was to be who he is, be who he was, to be what he was, and to be why he was on this planet. Now, right now, as I'm doing this, if all things being equal and all things were to go ahead, unfortunately, there was only literally a handful, 4 or 5 people who were going to be in a position to attend today. What do you think we're going to be talking about? Life purpose. To be who we actually are, to be what we are, and why we're here. Well, we can't be why we're here until we remember who we are and what we are. So, here's the question. This individual at 12 years of age knew who he was, knew what he was, and knew why he was here. Here's the question. Does it make any sense, any logical sense whatsoever, to assume that for the next 18 years he was a carpenter. Does it make any logical sense? Because let me frankly tell you this. See, when an individual knows what their purpose in life is, nothing and no one distracts them from being who they are, what they are, and what their purpose in life is. No one. So I'm going to ask you that question again. Does it make any sense when an individual at 12 years of age knows who he is, what he is, and why he's on this planet, that he goes making doors and floors for the next 18 years? Does that make any sense? Next question. If he wasn't doing that, what was he doing? Next question. If he wasn't in a carpenter shop with his father, where was he? I'm not going to answer those. You can answer those for yourself. Next question. Who were the wise men? One of the perceptions of the Christian tradition is that there were three. Never says there were three. It says they brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So that's another assumption. You know what assume means? It makes an ass out of you and me. I'll say that again. Assume. A-S-S-U-M-E. Makes an ass out of you and me. That's what assumptions are. So an assumption was that there were three. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter how many there were. Well, these individuals, here's the next question. Where did they come from? They came from the East. Where was the East? Well, history would tell us that the East was actually over India, Tibet, Nepal, the Himalayan part of the world, if you want to check it out. That's apparently where they came from. And they were guided by what? Well, their perception of what is recorded in the Bible in the Gospels was they were guided by a star. Now, wonder what was the star? Could it be that a celestial body of light directing 3 or 4 or 10 or 2 interconnected, interactive, inner self-reliant, I am conscious beings at one with all of creation were communicated to and communicating with a celestial being that manifested itself like a star? So they left the East and they came directed, they followed this star. Now that wouldn't be by train, plane, or automobile, by the way, back then either. And it wouldn't have taken them, wouldn't have been many taxis about. On foot, or probably with maybe horse, maybe not, maybe ass. Donkey, i.e. ass. Work it out for yourself. A celestial light that moved accordingly as they traveled. In other words, as they were directed and guided, they responded. Right, a couple more here. Got about, want to finish actually 11 if we can. Why is it a commonly held belief that Jesus was born on the 25th of December, i.e. Christmas Day, Christ Mass Day? Why is that? Question. Let's say, for example, that the people in the area or in the community or indeed worldwide, perhaps, prior to indoctrination, that the ancient wisdom, that they realized there was a thing called the shortest day happened when it happened. And please understand that back then there was no such thing as our calendar. No such thing. The concept of January through December is the Gregorian calendar. And as you know, I had the pleasure of being with the Hopi and the Maya back in 1999. I'm not going to go over it again. But when we spend time with a people who have lived not only generations, but aeons, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, long before the inception of Christianity, inverted commas, or any other belief. We're at one with the seasons. We're at one with the cycles. We're at one with the moon. We're at one with the sun. We're at one with the Creator and the Creator's creation. So the 21st of December is 4 days, right? Before the 25th. So the 21st of December, actually in the Gregorian calendar, is the shortest day. So let's say, for example, that everyone actually celebrated or lit lights, etc., on the shortest day. And it was a perception of a celebration. Now, if that was a celebration, why change it? Well, maybe change it by 4 days, huh? Maybe. Could that be? Here's another one. Check this out for yourself. Much too cold for shepherds to be on a hillside minding their flocks, and much too cold for flocks to be out on the 25th of December. Right. Next one. Why do Christians believe that the crucifixion stroke death of Jesus was Good Friday? What's good about that, by the way, huh? Why call something good? Crucifixion, is that good? Anyway, Good Friday, Easter Saturday, Easter Sunday, Easter Monday. Easter. What was the original meaning of Easter? Look it up. Ishtar, Ishtar. And Ishtar was the celebration of spring. Hence, Easter eggs. Celebration of new life. Celebration of fertility. Celebration of new life. Springtime. That was what Ishtar was. So, could that be where the idea of Easter eggs come from? Easter bunnies comes from? Now, here's a question that I had as a kid. How is it if, Christians believe that Jesus was born on one day, and it's the same day every year, inverted commas, but Good Friday and Easter is a different date every year? What? Why is that? I could never, ever get my head around that until I started to do some research. Ishtar. Ishtar is the first full moon after the spring equinox. Easter is the first full moon after the spring equinox. Check it out. Don't take my word for it. Which brings me on to the next point. What is meant by blind faith? This is another question I actually had. I covered it actually when I was on with Martin during the week. And by the way, absolute love that guy. He's pure as the driven snow, pure consciousness. One of the 144,000. Some of you listening to this know who you are too. Anyway, blind leading the blind. That's what Christ called them. That's what blind faith is. Blind leading the blind, and they both fall in the drain. Or as my father would have called it, as you know, he was from Cork, called it the shuch. So with the blind lead the blind, when they both end up in the shuk, drain, ditch. What kind of faith is that? So I'm going to ask a question. Does it make any sense to hand over our well-being, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical, financial, vocational, every aspect of our being, especially spiritual, to something outside ourselves that's blind? That maybe wants to be like the Pied Piper, playing a merry tune that people are following like rats. Does that make any sense? Now, next one, 5 more minutes. What is the difference between Jesus and the Christ? Jesus was the man. I've already touched on it to some degree, but Jesus was the man and Christ is the I am. Christ consciousness is the I am within that was within Jesus. Jesus was a man. Christ consciousness was his being, his innate sense of being, spiritual being on planet Earth having a human experience. But he was so spiritual his entire life. From age 12, was directed by his spiritual beingness. In other words, his human experience. Absolutely, from age 12, when he realized that he was on his father's business, he probably realized, he never forgot it. Quite frankly, those of you who are listening to this, you know, as I did, felt I had more in common with the 2 pets, you know, the 2 dogs who were pure unconditional love than I had with my biological family. Round peg, square hole. Never fitted into this world, never. So Jesus arrived in a religious tradition called the Jewish tradition, Jewish sect. He never fitted into it. Why? Because he didn't come to set up religion. He came to abolish it. Christianity, the word Christian came about in the 12th of Acts. Check it out. Don't take my word for it. It was a nickname. He didn't come to set up Christianity. He came to actually say, listen, love thy neighbor as thyself. Love the Lord thy God, which is the I am within, with your soul, heart, mind, and body. What he actually came to say was that. That's what he came to say and live. That's who we are. That's who we are. And that's who we're not. So he came into a religious tradition that was covered up. The soul and the heart and all this inner self was covered up. People were caught up with the external, making good the outside, dressing up the outside, making that look better, you know, get more qualifications, get this, get that, get the other. Because the self-worth and the self-esteem and the self-confidence and the self-respect was all gone. So we dress up the external to make us feel better of an inner void, or that which is covered up. So the recovery means the rediscovery. The uncovering, the recovery is the uncovering, the removal of that to return to this. That's exactly what is now going on. Now, on that point, when people actually are going through this awakening process, there's 2 things can actually happen. Well, 3 things actually, but chiefly 2 things. Number 1, they can assist the process. What do I mean by that? I mean by daily meditation, being in touch with nature, being around other people who are on the same journey, assisting the process. Number 2, resist the process. Not a good idea. Because that which we resist will persist. You know the tap hammer? And if we respond, great, that's called assisting. If we don't respond, we get the hammer. If we don't respond, we get the sledgehammer. Mightn't recover from it. 4x2 plank of wood is completely unnecessary unless people are not listening. We all have this inner voice that is doing its best to get through to this altered ego mindset, the false ID entity. It's doing its best. It's a still small voices trying to get through to us. But if the lines are all engaged here, you know, I talked about it the other day about the false sense of security in this thing called the comfort zone. People are at pain and pleasure, what's called a comfort zone, and they won't actually leave the comfort of the comfort zone until the pain becomes excruciatingly painful. Doesn't have to be like this, folks. Does not have to be like this. But you know, I had 8 years of it, but I asked at age 14. I had 8 years of it between 27 and a half to 35 and a half, which is actually 8 years, I think. There you go, 8 years. But at 14, you know, 21 years previously, I asked for this wisdom. And we all have it within ourselves. It is all in there, just as the Christ said. All in there. So when we realize this, when we actually stop running outside, chasing for answers here, there, and wherever, we eventually come to the stage. It's called breakdown. We eventually say, would someone please, who has been there, done that, got the t-shirt, would someone please take me by the hand and bring me home to the truth of who I am and what I am and why I'm on this planet? And you know, that's the role of those of us who are wayshowers. A wayshower or a light warrior is an individual who is steadfast on the journey, on the path, on the way, the light of the world, the truth and the life, to bring an individual back to the truth that is within themselves, so that they become their own savior. They become their own guru. G-U-R-U. Because everything that I'm sharing here on these videos and in the get-togethers and the one-to-ones, everyone has it within themselves. But they just need someone to take them by the hand until they get there. And then when they're there, they say, thank you. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I once was lost in my head. I once was you. This is what happens. People realize they were lost in the myriad of beliefs, in the myriad of false identity, in the myriad of what the world and other people actually want them to be, do, and have, which was actually have, do, and be, not at all. Have this, and do that, and do the other. Have this, have that, have the other. Do this, do that, do the other. For goodness sake, don't be who you are. That's the programming. And that's why it's all falling apart. And I was going to cover that today, but we're running out of time. But I'm going to cover that next week. And I mean clarion call stuff. Real straight stuff. Because we are in the process of going through the start, I should say, and that's actually in the process of the collective breakdown, which is world breakdown, in case you haven't noticed, folks. And I'm going to leave you with this question. Let's imagine that the collapsing world is also known as the end of the world. Let's imagine that the collapsing world, or the end of the world as we know it, is like a sinking ship. And the world as we know it is the external perception of reality. That's going down fast. Here's the question. Do you want to go down with it? Or do you want to find your lifeboat? Do you want to rediscover the truth of who you actually are? The life that is within yourself? The way that is within yourself? The journey that is within yourself? The truth that is within yourself? And get off that boat before it goes down. Get off that ship. Because certain things are in the process of happening that are going to rapidly accelerate the sinking of that ship called the end of the world. Now, nothing to be afraid of. Here's the bottom line. For something to end is the precursor of that which is coming through. For something to end is the beginning of something new. That's where the focus is. Not on the end of the world, but on the beginning of the new, like John Lennon's song. In fact, just on that point, go listen to that, John Lennon's song. All right, there's more stuff I'm going to cover on that, but not today. But just a couple of wee tips here. People have been asking me, what meditation do you use, Samuel? Well, some of you listening and many of you would have heard of Wayne Dyer. Well, Wayne Dyer, his meditation, but it actually wasn't his meditation. It was the one that he used, where the meditation that he used, known as the I Am meditation, and I'll put a link when I edit this later on. I'll put a link to that. The I Am meditation is the tones. Remember we talked about vibration. The tone of the I Am is in that I Am meditation. That's why it's the most powerful one that I know of. Now look, daily meditation, every single morning and evening, with gratitude. Do your relax I Am within until it becomes unconscious. In other words, you are unconsciously doing it, but you're remaining totally conscious. You're breathing with consciousness at all times, being conscious at all times of the truth of who you actually are, truth of what you are, and the truth of why you're here, which is a spiritual being on planet Earth, having a human experience. In other words, the expression of the spiritual being is being expressed by the mind and the body on planet Earth. That's the only reason why any of us ever come here, to remember who we are, what we are, and why we're here. Now, if that resonates with you and you're really interested in finding out your own life purpose, I'd be delighted to help you. But you know, many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. Last question. Do you know who does the choosing? The I Am that is within you does the choosing. Are you listening to the I Am that is within yourself? Or are you listening to somebody else's voice or your own altered ego's voice? Enough for today. I salute you. I honor you. I respect you. I love you. But I make no apologies whatsoever for sharing that which is laid upon my heart and answering questions that have been asked of me and posing questions that have been on my consciousness from when I was a kid. Sharing these things with you to just assist people in maybe coming to their own awakening. So be it.